Kyle Quick looking down at his phone here, making sure he doesn't have any important calls from People Savings Bank, big marketing guy. We're here March 8th and we're at the New Haven High School, and what we're doing today is I wanted to do this for a while. I want to interview all the state championship teams. I don't know, that's probably not possible, but 2001 was the last time New Haven won, the boys. And if you're watching here, Coach John Viehland's on the left with the white shirt, and you have Kyle Quick on the right. John's currently at Bell High School, and if you ever see Kyle, he's the main marketing agent, manager, whatever, for People Savings Bank. So we're going to cover 2001, and before we start, I told them I wanted to make a toast to them because it's been 24 years ago already. Hard to believe it was that long ago. Probably seemed like yesterday for you guys almost. Yeah. Because when I come in here, it almost seems like yesterday. I walked through here and it's been 35 years.
Yeah, I can't see, but I used to sit at that table all the time.
Yeah, so things have changed a little. Yeah, things have changed a little bit in here. So we're going to make a toast to two things. And I know some people may think this is silly, but the three of us really thought a lot of this guy. But first of all, I want to make two toasts. I want to make a toast when we get together about you guys winning. It was a fun year to watch. A little bit slower pace than I was used to, but hey, it worked, so we're going to cover that aspect of it. And we're going to make a toast because it's been a little over 2 years since I will say it, was my favorite uncle. I was always tight with him, and I know you guys thought a lot of him.
Yeah.
So we're going to make a toast to Tim Strobel, and let's do this now. We're going to do that. I'm not going to be on the camera much. We're going to toast to all three of you guys. And for people that know Mr. Strobel, you know, I talked to Coach Dennis Fritz Carey about how people always call him Strobel. Strobel this, Strobel that. Yeah. It was never Tim. It's kind of like me. They always say, Kraftmeyer, I went to the store. What's going on, Kraftmeyer? Like, yeah, I was just used to that. So what he would do, I'm going to hold these in the camera because everyone that went to school did this.
They did.
And I'm going to hold these up. He would take these right here, these little bits of, and he'd come in here during cafeteria at lunch mainly, but I can remember.
Oh,
right?
Same. Oh, yeah.
Would he do it any other time?
Yeah, he did. Other times, sometimes.
If you walked in the classroom, he'd do it and maybe.
Oh, yeah, sometimes he'd throw one on your desk.
So, John here wants the Three Musketeers. Kyle said that he always gave him, you can't really see him because he's trying to focus, the Milky Way, and I'm going to have a Snickers, so I'm going to do like he did. Here you go. Throw them.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to sit and have a little snack here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to be, these are going to be made public. I always do. There's going to be on my YouTube page also because I know some people, most people watch it on Facebook because I make it public and it's easier to access than to go through. So what we're going to do, we're going to have them in probably 3 sections, try to keep them about 30 minutes a piece, maybe a little longer because most people, I would rather watch a long video fully instead of, but a lot of people, I don't have attention span for that. So we're going to cover their childhood up until high school, what they kind of did, how they kind of prepared. I know they were part of, or in school when they won 99, they were not in 97 yet. You guys were in junior high, but you were around then in the 98 team also. And obviously there was some inspiration there. So we're going to cover the growing up first because John was not from New Haven. And second part, we're going to cover the season. We're going to go over the games. Kyle brought a scrapbook, so he could probably give some more than what I have here. And then we're going to go to the final, or after the regular season is going to be the third video. So we're going to kind of keep these down to 3 videos. I appreciate you guys coming here. I asked another guy we talked about earlier. It just didn't work, and someone asked me, why don't you do the whole team? I said, you can never do that. So you guys said earlier you were interviewed like me for the tradition of excellence, but we're going to try to go into a little more detail because I know John and Keith were limited on the amount of time and they interviewed so many people.
Oh, yeah.
And cut it down. So this is, I think mine was maybe 20 minutes long, maybe somewhere around there. So we're going to go a little further. So we'll start with John first because you're the local boy. Grew up, family store for what, 60 years almost?
Still going.
Started out downtown New Haven.
They did.
So we'll go that way. So John, you said you came here in 5th grade. If you hear me eating, I'm going to eat this Snickers courtesy of Tim Strobel.
Yeah.
Where did you, was it Illinois or where did you grow up?
Well, we're born in St. Louis.
Okay.
Lived there, I think, till maybe 6 years old. And then Dad got transferred down to Clarksville, Tennessee. So we lived down there for a while, then got transferred back a couple years later, which had been in the 5th grade area. Somehow he found New Haven. Guess that was a perfect match for us.
So And that was when, how old were you?
What is it? What's fifth grade is what?
I don't even know.
Well, okay.
Fifth grade.
Because there's so much stuff that as anyone knows, I make very few notes. So that's why it's called casual conversation. So when you're in Tennessee, obviously you come to New Haven and you learn quickly if you're out here the tradition of New Haven basketball. And it's this, I don't know how familiar you were with the 50s teams and the 70 and the 67, but you obviously heard from people when you came here like basketball. Did you play much basketball? Do you remember? A lot of people don't start till about fifth grade, other than this kind of shooting around and playing some.
To be honest with you, I did not play much. I think we played a little bit of the YMCA ball back in Clarksville, Tennessee. Played basically baseball. It was a baseball, back there baseball was a lot of the things you do in a little younger ages, I feel like. But no, before I got here, I didn't know much about New Haven. Actually didn't know anything about New Haven. And then you got here and it just grew on you.
Okay, were you obviously, are you about 6'5", 6'6"?
6'5".
Okay.
Probably 6'6" when I had hair, but 6'5".
Were you, and I remember you being young, and I know you were scared of me because I was.
We were all scared of you.
But were you taller than most? Do you remember, were you taller than most of your kids your age? I mean, obviously there's height in your family, I know that.
Right. When I came in fifth grade, actually I was not the tallest in the class. I believe Chris Page was the tallest in the class. But we were both taller but chunkier.
Okay.
And then that was the crazy thing about coming in fifth grade. It was me and Chris Page, and then you got the other boys too. But we were both probably about 5'10", 5'11", I believe, around that age. And just once he kept growing, I kept growing, just kept growing.
Okay. So we'll get up to fifth grade. Obviously, we'll talk to Kyle, but obviously Kyle was in your class.
Oh, I was a year
You're younger?
Yeah.
Okay, you're younger. So my mistake.
It's all right.
Did you, when you got here, did you initially, hey, I'm going to start playing basketball, or someone prod you, or?
A little bit of both. I mean, I wanted to play basketball. Grandpa was always on me to play basketball. Mom and dad too as well. But we got here, and then Mark Lowney was actually the coach in fifth grade. And I think it was it Brent or Brett?
Brent Stewart.
I remember him.
Those two were what got me started. Honestly, what got me started in basketball.
Did they come to you, or did you like, hey, there's a fifth and sixth grade tournament, I'm gonna go play?
That was a long time ago. I don't remember. I want to say it was a kind of, they came to us just because we were starting a team, trying to get things going. I mean, that's where it started for pretty much, I felt like us, for myself, is Mark Lowney was the start, and then it just grew from there. Fifth and sixth grade, you got the junior high, and then into high school.
Did you guys have, without your actual class, we're looking at who's in your class, did you guys have much success at a young age? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were a different team than we were later on. And like I said, I mean, we were all fifth grade, smaller, chunkier, slower, not smart.
So, was Craig in your class?
Craig Borshing, and then went to R2.
Was he in your class?
Yes, graduated with me, yes.
So, was Robert Brown in yours? Or
Robert was at New Haven with me.
So you, Robert, Scott Colville was in yours,
No,
right?
So the only.
I'm going down the list of the 2000 years, so I'm trying to get a picture.
So it'd be Eric from New Haven, be Eric, myself, Robert. Trying to think who else from that. Is that it?
Was Ryan in your class?
Ryan was a year younger than all, 2 years younger.
Ryan
2
was
years,
younger than
okay.
me.
That's why I only played
He was a
10,
sophomore.
11 games.
Yeah, he was a sophomore that
Okay.
year. So the only people, so me, Scott, and Alan were the only. Alan came from R2, and then
Okay.
me and Scott.
So you three are the only ones on this together that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when I was growing up, we weren't very good when we were young. It was like, oh, are we going to get any better? We're going to get it. No, I was pretty good, but you needed a team, and that's what we're going to talk about here. So, do you remember who your coach was in junior high?
Junior high was
Dave Leakey.
Yeah, Mr. Leakey.
Did you?
Mr. Leakey. I mean, let's be real. I think every person in this the school was a coach, because you had Miss Hunter, Miss Schmidt,
Right.
Mr. Leakey, Mr. Carey,
Right.
Mr. Strobel, Mr.
Right.
Steinhoff. I mean, it's like there was so much basketball minds in the school. So
That's a good point.
And I'm gonna ask probably a lot of the same questions, but I want to build up the background. At that age, when I was that age, I don't even know if there's really AAU, probably, but it was more of the city deal. So I would always go to the basketball camps out here, and then I went to 3 or 4 Norm Stewart camps. Do you remember? Did your age group, or did you go anywhere, or is it more or less, hey, did Strobel take you under his wing at a young age, or?
Stroh took me in when we got in, probably right in the 6th, 7th grade
Yeah.
over here. Because over there, he never got to see us.
Yeah.
Took us in over here.
Or did you remember if you won any?
We won games. I don't
No,
remember.
I'm saying, did you go anywhere like to prepare over the season, like camps or?
5th, 6th grade, no, not so much. I think it was just Coach Steinhoff's camps most of the time. And then 3-on-3s. We played a lot of 3-on-3 back in the day, like tournaments.
Which
You know,
to me, like
Hoop It Up, and then you had, what's the other one?
They always had one over in St. Clair when I was a little
Yeah.
bit younger.
Gus
that we
Macker
played.
was another one.
Yeah, but I look, and then we're going to talk basketball too, not just about the team, but Dwayne and I both agree. 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4. That's when you truly learn how to guard, how to get open. Because when you do the 5-on-5, a lot of it's set play. When you're doing 3-on-3, I mean, yeah, you can set picks, but that's where you learn a lot of your not really fundamentals, but instincts, what you need to do on the court. So that was good that you guys had the opportunity, because we didn't have 3-on-3 and all that stuff. So, okay, we got you to junior high. In time we get to Kyle, this is going to be about 30 minutes. So we're going to cut with you, and we'll start with Kyle. And then once he does that, we'll take a break, and then we'll start talking about your high school years. Well, actually, we'll have time. We'll get his background, and we'll talk about your guys' JV a little bit before we get there. So, obviously, everyone knows Kyle here. Everyone knows Johnny too. What's your real name? Jonathan?
No.
John. This John. Everyone calls him Johnny, right? Or you call him John.
I mean, they still call you Johnny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we always call
Yeah,
him.
Johnny Viehland. So,
Yeah.
everyone knows Kyle Quick here, family or the New Haven boy. Grandparents owned the Quick's IGA, then Save a Lot.
Yeah.
So, I thought you guys, for some reason, were the same age of the class, but obviously there's not a whole lot to tell because you grew up here. Do you remember at what age did you were obviously younger, so were you in 8th grade when 97 or
I was
what?
in 7th grade.
7th? So you got to witness a lot of the.
Oh yeah.
And you would have been in 8th grade, obviously.
Right.
So it was a little bit of a dry run there.
Right.
Kind of
But I remember growing up. I remember growing up watching you play.
You had to be little then.
I was, but I remember sitting down at Borgia watching you play Clopton. I remember watching Kyle Shear play. Obviously the Bailey brothers. I remember, was it Jeff Waymeyer?
Yeah.
I remember watching him play.
Chad Riegel.
Chad Riegel, yep. And then of course Tim and Kyle
Yeah. So did you?
and Keith.
Probably like him, you played baseball too. when you
Yeah,
were-
but we played a lot. I played a lot of basketball. So I started in 4th grade, and Mark was the coach, and I played. We were limited on number of kids, so
Yeah.
I would play up with John on the 5th grade, and then when I got to 5th grade, then Ryan and Jacob would play up on the 5th grade, and so then we would have 5th and 6th grade teams. But then I did play when I was in junior high. I played some summer basketball with some kids from Herman, Ryan Worley, Zach Rhodes.
Were you taking
Those were all-
travel ball or what?
Yeah, so we would
Okay.
play, but it wasn't like nothing like today.
Okay.
We would just play. I think we played in like the Show Me games,
Okay.
and then some kids from Washington too.
And who organized? Was this through Mark?
No. This was organized by Phil Malencrot. So he is from Washington. His son. My God, it's terrible. I'm drawing a blank.
Well, it's been a long time ago.
Yeah,
When you
well,
get
I know,
older,
but
you
I just
can't
saw
remember.
him this summer.
Okay.
It's terrible. But they went to Emmanuel Lutheran and then went to Borgia. So so we would see them out here in our 5th and 6th grade tournaments because they were the same age. Emmanuel Lutheran had a pretty good team. St. George had a good team.
St. Vincent's.
Yeah, St. Vincent's. St. Vincent. And so he kind of spearheaded a team. So like me and Scott played on this team. It was our age group. So
Yeah.
John would have been too old. But like Ryan Worley, Eric Landault played. So it was like kids from Herman, New Haven, and Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
St. Vincent, that's Dutso, right?
Yeah.
But they don't really have one there. They have to go over to another. They have I can't remember because Kyle had played in that little thing. There's another school they play at. They don't actually play at St. Vincent.
Yeah.
It's
No, that's where the
It's like a
Malencrots-
community center.
Yeah, they
community
played.
center.
They didn't go to Emmanuel Lutheran. They went to St. Vincent. That's
Yeah.
the team I'm thinking of.
So-
anyways, but
So, same coach when you went through. Coach Lakey was.
Yep.
You?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I
Now-
love Mr. Leakey. He was a fantastic coach.
Now, when John obviously left and you'd have been in 8th grade, did you guys have some success too?
We did. We were really good. I mean, it was me and Scott. So Alan Shear was at R2, so he didn't come here till freshman year. But Ryan and Jacob, we were very successful our 8th grade year, even more so than our 7th grade year, because our 7th grade year we might have only had an 8th grade team because Ryan Steinhoff and Jacob Shear, that class, they had a few more players. They probably had more, closer to 8 to 10 players. So a few of them played up on the 8th grade.
So before we start progressing, looking back, were there any boys your age that should have played that you think, man, or did everyone that you thought had any potential?
Yeah.
Some people's like, man, this kid, if he would have played, we'd have been really good.
I think I can't think of it.
Do you recall anyone maybe when you
Well,
were?
at that age, just Chris Page. I think Chris quit after 7th, 8th grade, or maybe.
Yeah.
I think
And I
somewhere
thought-
like
I thought
that.
he maybe
was
moved.
he was 6'4", 6'5",
Oh yeah, he could. I think
6'2".
growing into high school,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I think didn't he move too though, or no? Or
No,
did he
no,
just not
I
play?
think just not play.
Okay. Yeah, he would have. He could have been.
He was tall.
Yeah.
I think he might have been taller than me.
Yeah.
So, I know probably it happened when 90s, Tim and Kyle era. How about we just say that?
that's-
So
yeah.
it was probably the same feel because I don't know. I would imagine with Alan out there at R2, who else did he have with him out at R2? Do you remember?
Dustin.
Dustin Pelster,
And,
Jason Lowney,
Jason Lowney, can't forget Jason.
Nick Burjack. Well,
Nick.
but Nick was in your
Nick
class.
was my class.
what I'm saying is they probably, the coach was like, man, because Coach Johnny Viehland here probably sees a younger group. Oh man, when this group comes up, there's some potential there. So I imagine the high school coaches here is like, man, once we get these guys, I mean, they're already good in New Haven, but once we add these few extra people from R2, that we have a potential to be pretty good. And I don't know if that was ever, who was your JV coach?
Mr.
Tim, that's right,
Yeah.
Coach Strobel.
I don't know. I would say there was probably a lot more excitement for Tim and Kyle because they were pretty.
Well, I understand that, but still, when you see these groups,
Probably so.
it's kind of like they say Coach Van Leer is kind of sticking around for this sophomore class now because they thought they were going to be pretty good. Now they ended up winning last night.
Did they win?
Yeah,
Awesome.
they won.
I
So
think by one.
yeah, so it's probably I'm going to stick around. And the rumor is hey, is the Montgomery coach going to stick around now that the well's dried up? And it's like, yeah, he probably could go.
Actually, I heard something about that the other day. I think they helped with his master's, so he might have some kind of deal with that.
Okay.
And that's how the schools do now. They kind of like help pay for your master's.
to
if
try to
you
get you
stay
to
longer.
say, hey,
Yeah.
we got hanging over your head, which is good because
I could be wrong with that.
But so we're gonna work through because it's only let's cover like freshman JV before we go. So obviously you moved up, and so Keith Davis would have been on there. Who would have been the class, the guys ahead of you and his?
So-
Doug Burr did he?
No,
still?
Doug was in my class. Doug
Okay.
was mine. He came over from R2 as well. But so freshman year, their sophomore year would have been like Keith, Tommy, Jeff Meir, Adam Gardner. I feel bad if I forget someone. Benny Steiger, big, huge one there. Dustin McZuke, huge
Okay.
before he tore his ACL. I mean, he was a stud
Yeah.
before he tore his ACL. I think, no, I'm jumping ahead too, but I think our junior year we would have been better if he didn't get hurt that summer before.
Well, then we can cover that because a lot of stuff I don't remember. So, what do you think the most losses Coach Strobel ever had in a year? Maybe 4 or 5 ever? I mean, or no? I just remember him like because he was so thorough. It was like even if they got beat, it wasn't like you got stomped.
Right.
No, he might have had an off year in there somewhere, but I mean, I remember when he retired, I went through all of his, and I found what his overall record was. I mean, his winning percentage was like 70-some% overall for his career as
Really?
a JV coach.
Yeah.
And then he went to almost 2 years without a loss.
Was that during your?
So it would have been part of my year, and then Ryan Steinhoff's junior or sophomore year, they went undefeated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get to you, and then we'll come when you guys get together going on. But I assume did you guys win about everything when you came up and? Do you remember? I know Keith. Keith was a hell of a ball handler and a player. Keith and I are really good friends.
Keith played more, I think, if I'm correct.
Did he
I
play
remember
varsity
Keith
a
played
lot then?
varsity. He was up there with, that would have been what, Zastrow would have been a senior that year, right? Josh Zastrow, Tony
Yeah, so
Gumper.
98,
98, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was with them. I feel like he was up there with them a lot. Then down with us a little bit too. But Keith was one hell of a point guard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and Keith, I know he's going to be listening. This we talk about a lot when we're fishing. This thing, he had his head straight. He was kind of out there, and I've talked to him, and I'm being mean, but he seemed a lot. He had focused on some other things. But when he was on the court, he was on. I remember him because the way he could handle the ball, it was just. And I'm not just saying it because we were great friends.
He was phenomenal.
But he was a phenomenal ball handler. Now we'll work up to that. Were you when we go further? But were you the off guard then when you?
My junior year, I was the point guard, and then my senior year, Ryan Steinoff.
So when you were? That's right. You were only a sophomore
Yeah.
then in 2000. No.
So
in
in
2001
I was a junior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's
There's
right. And
no, not it's me. I'm trying to keep
That's right.
all this because I thought you guys were in the same class. So.
Yeah, sorry.
So you guys were very good at JV, and then you moved up to. Did you play much on varsity?
I towards the end of the year I went up, but I mean I played at the end of the end of the games
Yeah.
when we were up or down, which.
Back then, did they have quarter limitations? See, when I was, you only had 4 quarters. That was it. Now it was 6.
6.
It was 6 back then.
It was 6 then.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot more opportunity to play a full game because back when I did, it was like you go play a quarter and you sit out, and then people are probably looking, hey, why is he sitting on the bench? And then you get moved up and you don't really play a whole lot. So I kind of said, let me down there, because back then they had I think I told 16 varsity players. Or 13 or something when I was a sophomore.
Oh my
And they moved me up, and it was like there was hardly enough chairs to go down. So you guys come together, you lose Keith and those guys, but you bring up this crew here. I promise you we're going to get you out on time here.
Oh, no,
you're looking
fine.
down at your
Oh
watch.
no, it's when it vibrates.
You're
It's just
looking
a
like Joe
habit.
Biden here. Are
I
you going to take a
know.
nap too, or what?
Probably.
So newborn baby, all tired.
Yeah.
So you guys come together when you're a sophomore freshman. Do you think that year was a better combination there? Or you remember if you were more successful?
We were more well. So when I was a freshman and he was a sophomore on the JV, we were successful. We weren't as successful as we were when I was a junior. He was a senior.
Okay.
Not even close. Not comparable.
Did you guys continue? Now I'm going to build. Did you guys continue to do your 3-on-3s? Were there any team camps for that age, for your guys' age group, or not?
So we would. So interesting. So my freshman year, okay, we might have went to a JV camp together. I don't recall for sure. But after my freshman year, he became a junior, so he's on the varsity team, and I'm a sophomore and I'm on the JV team. So that year we did not play a whole lot together at all. So like when we went to a JV camp, it was me, Scott Allen, Ryan Steinoff, Jacob Shear.
2 of the ones below you.
Yeah, because that was us, and we had a very good JV year that year when he was a junior in 2000. And then but fortunately, we just gelled quite well, which credit to Coach Steinoff to doing that. But then after my sophomore year, so the summer before the year we won state, we went to several camps during the summer and played. Team camps.
You mentioned gel, and I know John obviously was here the majority of his school. 5th grade, I mean,
Right, yeah.
but Dwayne and Cretley and I talked about how important it was, and I'm going to ask you guys if you're this. Were you guys? My group, we were friends away from school also.
Yeah.
But were you guys that way? I mean, obviously you're bringing other pieces of the puzzle together from different schools.
Very close.
So I always say, by running together, and even if you're doing stupid stuff, you learn how to read each other. You know their personalities. You're probably the point when you got on varsity and you guys won. All you kind of have to do is look at each other, and you kind of know, or you knew where John was going to be, or he knew where you, or any other player was going to be.
So he lived behind my grandma and grandpa quick. So anytime we were there, I mean, we had that connection. But then when I was a freshman, he had his driver's license and his off blue truck.
GMC.
Would
I
pick me
remember
up for the games, and on the way to the game, we would listen to Hooch. Isn't that the name of the song?
Which Keith Davis got me into that one.
So I mean, we were always always hanging.
Did you have a basketball goal up at your? I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you're close
It was
enough.
down by the, actually in multiple ones.
By the end of the street there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was there. But you also had access that you could just walk if you wanted to go.
No,
quarter mile, not even
we
quarter
walked
mile,
right
yeah,
through
wider
the
down
woods
here.
right there into the park.
And I will say, I've driven through here the last couple of years, and I've seen kids out there playing, and I know they're a little dry here now, but I love seeing kids.
Oh, yeah.
You rarely see that, and I mean, Herman had a phenomenal year this year. But every once in a while, you'll see someone, boom, they'll be out there shooting. But to see a whole group of running up and down, we did that all the time when we were
Well, I
kids.
almost
We
feel
would
like-
drive to Herman and play against those guys.
I almost feel like on Sundays we would come out here and play.
Well,
Like
see,
just-
we address that too, is how you have limited access to the gym, which I said, Mr. Strobel, I think he probably made, about 2,000 keys for people, and he had them hid all
Well,
over. Everyone.
I would just call Coach Steinhoff and he would just give me.
Yeah,
big
we always said that. It was
wad
like,
keys.
hey, put them in the mailbox, or
Yeah,
we'd go up
yeah.
to Mr. Estes, and he'd give us keys.
Yeah.
But at one point, Tim gave me a key, and I was like, all right, I'll just put it on my key ring. So we are at a good stopping point. It's 26 minutes, so we're going to cover, when we come back, obviously we're not going to cover your sophomore year on JV.
No.
We're going to cover this, a little bit of 2000, 99, 2000, and we'll build up to the regular season of 2000 and 2001. At what point, before we cut here, at some point, maybe we were just too arrogant. At some point, you guys have to get together and say, you know what, we're going to be pretty damn good. And you had to think that at some point.
Well,
Or no, was that not, was the
So, I
coach
would
keep
say-
you grounded or what?
well, Coach kept us grounded, but I still remember this to this day. So before practice even started, in that season, we had a team meeting, and he asked, he goes, does anybody know what March 17th is? And somebody said, well, that's St. Patrick's Day. And believe it, Craig Working said, no, that is Class 1 state championship would be that day. And Coach Steinoff said, now, we're not going to talk about this anymore. He goes, but just keep that in the back of your mind.
So he had a pretty good idea that
Yeah, and I hadn't even, I mean, you think about those things.
you
but-
don't analyze. It's kind of like when he probably does more so as a coach. But looking back on my pitching, and it's not about me today, but if I would know how to, just by watching Greg Maddox, how he explained how to pitch, probably you guys played, you threw the ball as hard as you could. You threw a curve as hard as you could. There was no off speed. When you're saying to analyze and stuff, you don't really truly analyze stuff until you get older. And
No, oh my God.
just think if you guys could analyze how we think now back
Oh,
then,
my God.
and especially at the high school level, and it'd be like, you guys would be so far ahead of, and there are players that can analyze stuff. I mean, you probably had players like, you know what, this guy, almost like Larry Bird instinct, he knows where everyone's going to be. He's a step, they always said, a step ahead of everyone. So let's take a little break here, because they're going to do it. Did I mention we were in New Haven High School today?
I figured that too. Probably
Well,
not too.
some people that watch this, I'm telling you, Dwayne Cretley had almost 4,000 views of that interview I did at him. So there's going to be a lot of, especially when I do it public and I put like New Haven State Championship basketball. So, because this is the first basketball state team I've done, other than Larry Shear talking about the 50s. And a lot of people's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's nice to know, but we weren't alive then. So a lot of people are alive here. So I want to thank Dr. Josh Hayner and Coach Jamie Hayner for allowing us to come in here. We're doing this in the cafeteria that up on the wall behind them was the center court of the old floor. And if you see just over, point to that little spot there right over your right shoulder, go down that little peg.
Oh, there.
I can remember those things all over the floor,
Yeah.
and what they would do is, Mr. Strobel would have them come in and do the floor, and to tighten up all the dead spots. That's what they did back in the old days. They'd drill a hole, and it kind of. Did you know that?
I didn't.
So there's your history lesson. But yeah, there is so much damn history. I mean, I know they have more state championships volleyball in Herman, but if you count them up, there's more overall state titles here. And I mentioned the Dennis Carey thing. To be a school like this, and I know I'm proud of my alma mater like you guys, but to have that much variety of state champions, obviously, it's not all about sports, but you have to have good kids to be good athletes too. I mean, so let's take a little break, and then we're going to come back here in probably about, 10 minutes our time, but we'll be back.